Welcome back to Yoga Therapy Thursdays. This week we're working on stretching out our hamstrings. For many of us, tight hamstrings are just part of life. We spend most of our days sitting in a desk, sitting in the car, walking, running, and all of those things can contribute to tight hamstrings. So for the stretches this week, I encourage you to grab a strap or a belt or a long piece of string that you can use to help enhance your stretching. The majority of the ways to stretch out your hamstring involves hinging from the hips forward. This can be problematic for anyone who has herniated disc of the lumbar spine. So the first option I'm going to give you today is one of the best options no matter what state your back is in. You're going to carefully lower yourself down onto the floor. Make sure your strap is in one hand and ready to go. You can place your hands behind you and carefully lower yourself down to your mat, the floor, or even a bed. Take one leg in, and then wrap your strap around your foot. Just actually need to hook it around the edge of your foot. Take one end of the strap in one hand and the other in the other. And then lift that leg up. You want to straighten your leg up. Your leg might be down here. You want to feel stretch in the hamstring, and if this is where you feel it, this is where you can be. You might be up here. You might be higher up. And even a few of you might be able to take the foot to the floor behind you. This isn't a competition. Doesn't matter how far you get your foot. The important thing here is to stretch out your hamstring. So holding onto the strap, you can flex the toes and stretch out the back of the hamstring a little bit more, or you can relax and just let your leg go where it needs to go. Enjoy the stretch. Focus on breathing. Make sure you're not drawing your shoulders up or pulling your leg down. Let your arms be heavy and allow gravity to pull your leg up for you. When you're done with this side, carefully bend the knee, taking the strap into both hands, and then release the strap. You can switch sides by repeating and doing exactly the same thing. For your next hamstring stretch, we're going to do it seated. You can sit on the floor, or if you need a little bit of a lift because your hamstrings are tight, you can take a block, a pillow, or even a yoga bolster. Sit underneath your seat, and then straighten your legs from there. So as I mentioned before, folding forward with a herniated lumbar disc can make it worse. And this isn't from the actual hinging of the hips. This is more from hinging from the hips and then rounding the back. It's going to cause the bulge to come out even more. So make sure you're hinging just from the hips and not rounding the spine if you have any type of lower back issue. This next stretch, I encourage you to grab your strap. You can take your strap, one end in each hand, and lasso your feet, or if you can get there comfortably, just place it around the edges of your feet. Hold on to the strap, sit up nice and tall, and as you exhale, hinge forward again just from the hips. You want to go as far as you feel sensation, but not pain. Take a few breaths, and then you can come back up. Another option is to hold and relax the feet, but again, focus on hinging from the hips and not rounding back. If you know your back is in great shape and you have no herniated disc, you can start to relax and release, and if you have a bolster, you can relax on your bolster. And when you're ready, rise back up, and you can release the strap. And for those of you with a little extra length in your hamstrings, you can use a block to enhance that stretch. You take your block in any direction, whichever works best for you, and place it outside of your feet, reaching for that edge of your block. You want to still think about lengthening the spine and then hinging from the hips as you pull forward. Make sure your gaze is kind of towards your toes or the edge of the mat, and keep that spine nice and long. If you find one hamstring needs more TLC than the other, you can do this one leg at a time. Take one foot, place it on the inside of the thigh, and the other knee is bent. If this is really uncomfortable, just take it down a little bit. The important thing here is to keep one knee bent. Inhale, sit up nice and tall, and exhale, you can either use your strap to help you fold, you can also walk your hands down. And the same thing here, keeping the spine nice and straight, we're hinging from the hips. And we're tuning into our breath to see if we can release any of the tension in the back of our hamstring. When you're ready, you can lift up. Make sure you do both sides. When we think about forward folding, the first thing that comes to most yogis' minds is Uttanasana, or standing forward fold. To do this, your feet can be together or they can be hip distance apart. It's absolutely up to you, whatever is most comfortable. Also notice if your knees are in line with your toes or if you tend to turn out or inward, or play around with all of those directions. Everybody is built a little bit differently and you'll feel the stretch differently as you turn your toes in and out. For Uttanasana, we're going to start standing upright and hinge from the hips, keeping the back nice and straight. You place your hands on blocks to bring the floor up to you. If you can comfortably reach the floor with a straight spine, you can do that as well. Focus in on your breath, noticing your inhales, and allowing your hamstrings to release on your exhales. When you're ready, hands to your hips, press into the ground. You can bend your knees and rise all the way back up. Another option for forward fold is Ragdoll. This is a little bit less traditional, but the knees can be deeply bent. Hinge forward from the hips, allow the head, neck, and shoulders to relax towards the ground. Your arms can stay down towards the earth, or you can interlace them where they can just relax and hang. From here, you can start to straighten the knees. Get a little bit of a stretch into those hamstrings. Only go as far as feeling sensation and not pain. And if it feels right, you can try swaying. Just being mindful of anything that you feel that doesn't feel right, or maybe lingering in the places that it does feel great. When you're ready, release the hands, place them on the thighs, bend the knees, and slowly come all the way up. Pyramid is a great way to isolate one hamstring over the other in a standing forward fold. Place one foot in front of the other, comfortable distance apart. Square the hips towards the top edge of your mat or the room that you're in. And just with all the other folds, want to hinge from the hip, not rounding the back. I have some blocks here to place my hands on. You can do that as well with yours. The important thing here is to keep your hips nice and level. A lot of times we like to lift one hip up, which brings the stretch to a different location, or sometimes you can go really far forward, which will also shift the stretch. So find a nice level place. If you have a mirror or a friend that can help you out, that'd be great. And that way you know exactly where you're at. Taking a few breaths here. Inhale, think about lengthening the spine. Exhale, think about hinging from the hips. And when you're ready, hands to the hips or press into your blocks and slowly rise up. As always, start in constructive rest to release the psoas and the muscles of low back and hips. Then move on to mobility movements to help loosen everything up. Work on strengthening and then move into stretching. Thank you for joining me this week on Yoga Therapy Thursdays. See you next week.